I know when many of you guys first saw my Instagram post right here, you might be thinking, this is not always right. Well, this is not an identity, but it's an equation, meaning that it's true for some x values. However, this equation is only true with some complex numbers. So today, let me show you how we can find that. Here we have x to the negative 2 is equal to negative x to the second power. It looks like we are just bringing the negative to here, right? That's not always true. Because when you have x to the negative 2, what you have to do is 1 over x to the second power. That's how you take care of the negative exponent. But now, we're just trying to make this equal to negative x squared. And let's solve this equation. To do so, let's multiply by x squared. So we just get 1 equals, this is negative x to the fourth power. And then perhaps divide negative 1 to both sides. So we get x to the fourth power equals negative 1. Now it's interesting, but be careful though. This is x to the fourth power equal to negative 1. The one that we are more familiar is x to the second power equals negative 1. The answers for this is x is equal to plus or minus I, because by definition, I squared gives us negative 1, so it's negative I squared. But we have the fourth power, so we have to be more careful. To do this, let me show you. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and then we'll try to factor that. And now if you look at this, this is kind of like x, this is a sum of like sum to the fourth power, right? I'm actually going to write that as a sum of two squares. Have a look. I'm going to look at this as x squared, and then squared. And then for the 1, I'm just going to put it here. 1 is, of course, 1 squared. Okay, now we have a sum of two squares. How can we factor that? Well, let's recall that usually when we have factoring formulas, such as this one, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, we can factor this one out easily. We get a plus b squared. And keep in mind, if this is a minus, then the result right here is minus. Keep this positive. So now we have a squared plus b squared. This is the a, this is the b. So if we have the middle term, then we can factor that part, right? Do we put the plus or the minus? Well, I'll tell you, try the plus. I'm going to put down plus 2ab. A is x squared and b is 1. And the reason I put down the plus instead of the minus is because, remember, I'm just adding this to this equation. That will change the whole thing. I will have to subtract that right away, right afterward, so that I'm just like adding 0. Later on, this will be a perfect square, and then we are going to subtract this thing, which is also going to be put into a square form. So we can use difference of two square formula. So ladies and gentlemen, this right here, we are going to get, just kind of extend it right here. All that is just x squared plus 1. And then square. But for this, I will have a minus, parentheses, something square, that's equal to 0. X put in here, that's x squared. For the 2, I will have to put square root of 2, so that I square that, I get the 2 back. Very nice, huh? And we have a difference of two squares now, which is going to be much better. Now to factor this is just the first minus the second times the first plus the second. So we will have x squared plus 1 minus square root of 2 times x, and then x squared plus 1 plus square root of 2 times x, and now it's equal to 0. Now as you can see, we actually just have a quadratic factor times a quadratic factor equal to 0. We can make this equal to 0 and solve for x by using the quadratic formula, likewise for this. So for this, we must have x squared minus square root of 2x and then plus 1 equal to 0, and then the other one. So I don't have enough space, So I won't have enough space to solve these two equations on the board right now, but don't worry. Much better. Now for the first one, use the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b, which is negative square root of 2, plus or minus square root. B is negative square root of 2, square that, minus 4 times a and c. A is 1, c is 1, and then all over 2 times a. Now, this right here is square root of 2, plus or minus. This right here is just 2, minus 4, so we have negative 2 inside of the square root. Let me write it down like this, and then over 2. Now, we have a negative in this square root, so we can bring that out as an I. So this right here gives us square root of 2, and then split it. Square root of 2 over 2 plus or minus I times square root of 2 over 2. So we have these two answers from the first equation. As of the second equation, let's do the same thing. X will be negative b is just square root of 2, and then plus or minus square root of b squared. It's really just going to be the same thing, except for the first part will be negative now. Anyways, let me just write down the rest for you guys. By the way, how are you guys doing? Doing good? Okay, good to hear. And then I'm just writing down all the rest of the steps. Yeah, and then we'll write it down. Negative square root of 2 over 2, and then I square root of 2 over 2. There you have it. We have our four answers tonight.